Coming up here on the Raiders Report, I got the top 10 wide receivers. Clint Kubiak, John Spytek, and Tom Brady need to invest in during NFL free agency for Fernando Mendoza. The way that these guys are ranked, from 10 all the way down to 1. So if you want to know the top guy I want the Raiders to sign, you got to watch until the very end. Raider Nation, I'm Mitchell Renz. You're watching the Raiders Report, and NFL free agency is right around the corner. It begins March 9th at noon Eastern. This is what's known as the legal tampering period. The Silver and Black, at the time that I'm making this video, have a lot of money to be able to spend, and I can't wait to see what this organization decides to do. Why? Because you got the money, and you posted on social media that you're expecting a big NFL free agency. If the Raiders are posting that type of shit on social media, you're damn right I'm expecting them to go balls to the wall. Now, if you guys do not know, I'm going to be live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Hell, I think I might even be Friday, and I'm off on Friday next week. So what I want y'all to do is hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, because anytime breaking news happens over the course of NFL free agency week, I'm going to be up here and I'm going to be live talking about it. Hell, I bet you I'm live for 20, 25, maybe even 30 hours plus next week. We're going to be giving away prizes. We're going to be giving away money, and I want Raider Nation to show up. Let's go to number 10 here for our Raiders free agent wide receiver targets. I'm going to go with Tyquan Thornton, and I should mention these rankings are not based on how just good overall player is. It's based on fit. It's based on price tag. It's based on need for the Silver and Black. And Tyquan at 6'2", 185 pounds, I was actually really impressed what he was able to do for Kansas City, stretching the field, because that's the role I would want him to be on with Las Vegas. This is not a wide receiver one for the Silver and Black. If anything, I almost think it's your Dante Thornton Jr. replacement. I mean, this guy averaged 23.1 yards per catch, and you can see that he's got the elite speed to be able to stretch the field, but also I really like his ability to track the deep ball, because I know we always talk about Mahomes, and Mahomes is a hell of a quarterback, but Mahomes actually statistically is one of the worst deep-throwing QBs, so the fact that Tyquan was able to help him out in that regard is great. The PFF projected contract, 1 year, $5 million. I don't mind it all that much. I do think it's a little bit more money than I would like to be able to spend on an unproven receiver. However, though, the way that you should look at this investment is not so much just an investment on Tyquan Thornton, but you should look at this as an investment in Fernando Mendoza, also an investment on Ashton Jeanty, because if you could take the top off of your offense, that helps you really get the ground game going. Let's go to number 9 here. It's going to be Mike Evans. And some of you might be surprised that Evans is on here at 9. And I love Mike Evans. I think he brings a lot to the table. 6'5", 231 pounds. Back shoulder throws with Fernando Mendoza would be excellent. But this is the first time in his NFL career he didn't have over 1,000 receiving yards. And if there's one thing that I know, Father Time is undefeated. And I do wonder if Father Time has caught up to Mike Evans. I saw an NFL Next Gen stat that Evans was running the slowest he's ever ran in his entire NFL career. And at 1 year, $18 million, if we're going to go out and get a number one receiver, I want that number one receiver to be able to build chemistry for the long haul with Mendoza. Now, if you're telling me we just got to plug and play for one season because we don't have any other options, then sure, that's something to at least keep in mind. But Mike Evans at $18 million, it's not a bad deal considering what you can get for him. But I also look at the track record, and I wonder if we go out and we sign Evans, is he going to be the Mike Evans that we think about? Because if he's the Mike Evans from last season, that's going to concern me a little bit. If you could sign me up for those 2024 stats, I would sign up for those stats in a heartbeat. Before we continue on with this video, here's what I'm looking to trade on Polymarket. In the Golden State and Houston game, Polymarket is giving Golden State a 24% chance. I think that is wild, and the value is absolutely positively there. Don't get me wrong. Houston's defense, it's legit. But I'm never going to count out Steph Curry, and I'm never going to count out the Dubs. For those reasons, I'm taking Golden State at 24% to win this game. $100 wins you $416 if Golden State can take the upset. Plus, with Polymarket, you can trade in and out on momentum shifts without getting blocked or penalized. With in-game trading, once Golden State gets up, I can either ride it all the way out or I can sell early. For example, if you buy at 24% and sell at just 50%, you can snag a cool $208 payout. The Warriors are ranked 7th in second half scoring, while Houston ranks just 15th. I'm looking for the Warriors to get off to a hot start after the half. You can't do this with traditional sports books. So get started today. Polymarket is legal in all 50 states. Download the app now to get to the top of the wait list. The only way to do that is by clicking my link in the description and the comments. Let's go to number 8 here on my Raiders free agent wide receiver targets. Marquise Hollywood Brown. Back-to-back kind of Chiefs receivers on this show. He is a little bit more of that undersized guy, 5'9", 180 pounds. 49 catches, 587 yards, 5 touchdowns last season in Kansas City. This is another wide receiver option, though, that I don't think that this is your number one. Hell, I think Trey Tucker is a better receiver than Marquise Brown if he had a good quarterback to actually throw him the football. So to me, I look at this as being a really good wide receiver 3 option for Las Vegas. So if you bring in a Marquise Brown, you bring in a Tyquan Thornton, then I'm looking to draft a receiver a little bit higher, maybe at pick 36, maybe even at pick 67, depending on how it ends up falling out. Does have reliable hands, which I think is important when you have a young quarterback, right? If he's going to throw it to him, you want to make sure that he catches it. Only 2 drops the past 2 seasons. The PFF projected contract at the 1 year, $6 million, I do think is pretty interesting, which actually also our stats provider is telling us Marquise Hollywood Brown only 1 drop the past 2 seasons. So maybe you like it a little bit more. He's bounced around from Baltimore to Arizona to Kansas City, really trying to look for his footing in an offense. He's not a true number 1. He is a little bit undersized, not the best blocker, which is probably one of the biggest reasons why he's a little bit lower on my board than some other players out there. Let's go to number 7, and it's Keenan Allen. Hell, I almost want to call Keenan Allen old reliable. 6'2", 211 pounds, 33 years old. I mean, at this point, I think when the season starts, he'll be right around 34. But I've had Keenan Allen on so many of my fantasy football teams because I feel like every year people go, oh, this is going to be the year Keenan falls off. Nope. Over 700 receiving yards every single season since 2017. Though, I don't know if y'all know this, Keenan did grow up a Raiders fan, and I do think he'd be a really good safety blanket for Mendoza over the middle of the field. What would be interesting is how the Raiders would do the fit, because Keenan, you got Jack Bech, you got Trey Tucker. I would still want the Raiders then to go out and add another receiver in the draft. But at a projected contract of 1 year, $5 million, I think that that's a really, really good price tag for a player that has been very productive. Now, sure, the average has gone down, but he's also gone from different team to different team. Sure, this would be then as technically his 3rd different team in the last 3 seasons, but he's played with a lot of different quarterbacks. He's played in a lot of different systems, and I believe Keenan Allen would be a reliable veteran that our receiving room desperately needs. Let's go to number 6 here on the list. It's going to be Wan'Dale Robinson, and Wan'Dale's going to be higher on probably normal NFL free agent videos. He's not going to be as high on my video, and it's simply because I do this show for the Las Vegas Raiders and the Las Vegas Raiders only. If you go out and you pay Wan'Dale Robinson $20 million plus, you're going to expect him, in my opinion, to be that number 1 receiver. If you got a 5'8" Wan'Dale Robinson and then basically like a 5'9" Trey Tucker as your top 2 receivers, that's really small dudes that you need to be able to rely on all the time. And yes, he is a reliable slot receiver. 185 grabs combined the past 2 seasons. But I just think that the role he would play is a very similar role to like what Trey Tucker could potentially play. Do I think that they're very different players? Yes, Trey Tucker is more physical, better blocker. Wan'Dale is not the best blocker, but he is like willing to do it when you turn on the tape. Young guy, 25 years old. You could use him in the slot. Like if I saw the Raiders go out and get Wan'Dale Robinson, I'd sit back and I'd go, I wonder what that means for somebody along the lines of a Trey Tucker. Because Jack Bech, Trey Tucker, Wan'Dale, not a lot of big-time size there. Could you potentially rely on Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers a little bit more? Yes, absolutely. But I just think that based on what John Spytek said at the Combine, he wants a receiver that is a X receiver that can play on the outside. and that's just not Wan'Dale. Like, we have so many guys that can play in the slot right now for the silver and black. If you want the Raiders to add a receiver in free agency, I hope that you hit that like button right now. And I say that because I don't know how you look at that wide receiver group that I just showed you and don't want the Raiders to go out and get a guy. I want Fernando Mendoza to be the best version of Mendoza that we can get. But the way that you're going to do that is by investing him in the right pieces. Let's go out. Let's get him another receiver in free agency. Let's go out and get him another receiver in the draft, because if you don't have players to throw to, it's hard to complete the football. Let's go to number 5 here on my list of Raiders free agent wide receiver targets, sponsored by Polymarket. Deebo Samuel Sr. I almost said Jr. Played last season with the Washington Commanders, and this is another guy that Father Time is starting to catch up to him here a little bit. Getting up there in age, 30 years old. However, though, 72 grabs, 727 yards, 5 touchdowns last season for the Commanders in a season that, let's face the facts, that was a very bad Commanders season. Last year, Jaden Daniels ended up getting hurt. But it's the way that I think that the Raiders would use Deebo. You could still use him in the ground game. You could still use him as a pass catcher. 5 straight seasons with at least 50 grabs and 600 yards. Also does have a little bit of those ties with Clint Kubiak in that 2023 season. But because he adds that pre-snap motion rushing ability, like, let's just say for the Raiders, right, you're unable to go out and get another big-name running back to complement Genty. I like Tyler Algier. I like Rashid White. If you're unable to get Rashad White, let's say you're unable to get those two guys. What if you were able to find a Deebo who you could use and give him a few extra carries to just supplement some of that workload off of Ashton Genty? But a 2-year, $32 million contract, every time I see those figures, I think of the Hunter Renfrow deal. But, like, at 30 years old, Deebo Samuel knows this offense, and I do think he would be a very interesting fit in a style of offense that I want to see the Raiders play, and I'll say it again over and over and over again. I want to see the Raiders play an FU style of football, and Deebo does fit that style. And look at the numbers. Those are some good, productive numbers in offenses that have used the Kyle Shanahan / Kubiak system before. So Deebo Samuel comes in here at number 5. Let's go to number 4 here. It's going to be Jauan Jennings, who's been the number 1 receiver for the San Francisco 49ers over the past 2 seasons, because Brandon Ayuk has gone MIA. At 6'3", 212 pounds, he had 55 grabs, 643 yards. Those 9 touchdowns, though, it's what's really grabbing my attention, because Fernando Mendoza has not turned the football over in 2 years in college in the red zone, and I've watched a lot of the Raiders' offenses in the red zone. They do a really good job of not scoring when they're in the red zone. So because he's had back-to-back seasons and he's really good with contested catches, I just think that that's one of actually the strengths of Mendoza's game, that he's not afraid to thread the needle, but you need to have receivers that are confident in themselves to be able to catch the ball in heavy traffic. Also does have some of those Kubiak connections back in 2023 when Clint was the pass game coordinator there for the 49ers. But 3 years, $50 million, $16.7 million, I think is a good ballpark number for Jauan. There were reports that he wanted like $20 million plus. I ain't even going to be close to that, and I don't think that that's where he's going to go either. But the production that he has sustained over the past 2 seasons for the San Francisco 49ers, if you're telling me I can get that type of production from him, that's worth $16 million in my book. Now, I want to be clear. There's about to be a big tier gap, because the next 3 receivers are the top 3 guys that I really, really want the Raiders to pursue. Let's go to Romeo Doubs. He played football last season for the Green Bay Packers, and if the Raiders end up signing Doubs, heck, I might get a Guardian cap, and I might end up wearing one here on the Raiders Report. But the reason why I like Romeo Doubs is he's got some of that physicality, 6'2", 204 pounds, grew up in Los Angeles, went and played in Nevada. Can we bring you on back here to Nevada? 55 catches, 724 yards, 6 touchdowns. He's great in the red zone. He's also a willing blocker. What he also does really freaking well, back shoulder balls. And I loved, one of my favorite things when I turned on the Mendoza tape was the ability to throw that back shoulder ball, to be great in contested catches. 18 touchdowns the past 3 seasons. So a 3-year, $45 million deal for Romeo Doubs. I know he doesn't have the production probably as Jauan Jennings, but I do think Doubs will be a cheaper asset than Jennings. And then when you add the age on top of that, that's why I have Romeo Doubs ranked in my top 3. Because you look at 2025, 2024, really all the years that are up on screen right now. They don't jump off the page as very sexy numbers, but Romeo Doubs is not a number 1 receiver. He is a number 2, and I think he would be a good number 2. If you had Trey Tucker, Romeo Doubs, Jack Besh, and then you go out and you draft another receiver, like that's a really solid 4 to pair with Michael Mayer and also to be able to pair with Brock Bowers. But actually, at the time that I am filming this video, there is some NFL breaking news that I got to be able to put into this show, and I don't know exactly where I would rank him. He'd probably be in my top 5 if he's got his head, strapped on straight. Stefon Diggs was just released by the New England Patriots, and Diggs last season played in the Super Bowl, 85 catches, over 1,000 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's a great route runner, and he probably would be the number 1 receiver on this team. What's interesting, though, is I think good organizations make smart moves. Imagine an organization that just went to the Super Bowl, that knows they have a young quarterback in Drake May. They're moving on from Diggs for a reason. They gave him, I believe it was a 3-year, $69 million contract last offseason, and only one of those years was guaranteed. This either screams the Patriots are trading for like an A.J. Brown, or Stefon Diggs was that much of a headache that a team that went to the Super Bowl said, no thank you. I know you're going to get some off-the-field drama when it comes to Diggs, but at the exact same time, if Diggs can prove to us that he can be that number 1, and I think you might actually be able to get him at a halfway decent cost, then you got to at least consider him. I'm talking about him for a reason. You got to at least consider Stefon Diggs. Coming up next here on the show, let's get into the top 2 free agent targets for the Las Vegas Raiders at the wide receiver position. And the receiver position, it's going to be really interesting to see how it ends up all shaken out. I'm happy Pierce did not get tagged because that would have really, really raised the price. Spoiler alert, Alec Pierce is coming up if I didn't give that away already. If anybody out there is looking for some Raiders Report merch, whether it's this Raiders Report shirt, maybe you're looking to get a brand new hoodie. If you want the Raiders Report official trucker hat, it's available at that link that you see below, chatsports.com/RR shop. If you want to get a shirt to rock Mendoza, if you want to see the shirt that I gave Mendoza, I didn't give him this white one. It also comes in black, which this is the shirt that I handed Fernando Mendoza at the NFL Combine. I don't know what I would do if I ever saw Mendoza rocking this bad boy. I'd probably go streaking throughout the quad here at Chat Sports. But the bottom line is this. If you're a Raiders Report fan, I hope that you rock some of our gear, because if you're a Raiders Report guy out and about and somebody sees you, I hope that you go up to each other and I hope that you talk to each other. Let's continue to grow this awesome community. Let's go to number 2 here on my list for my Raiders free agent wide receiver targets, and I don't really think anybody is shocked by my top 2. I know the Silver and Black are interested in Rashid Shaheed. It's been very well reported. It also shouldn't be a shocker to anybody out there. 59 catches, 687 yards, 2 touchdowns last season. I will admit this, though. When Clint Kubiak, obviously the old OC for Seattle, made the trade for Rashid Shaheed, he gave him 9 games. In those 9 games, 26 targets, 15 catches, 199 yards, no touchdowns. That is very important. Now, you can make the argument they knew what they needed Rashid to be, and it's kind of hard to argue because, well, they just won a flipping Super Bowl. But the way that Rashid Shaheed was used in New Orleans is kind of the way that I'm hoping Clint Kubiak ends up using Shaheed here in Las Vegas. He obviously gives you that deep threat ability to be able to stretch the field and take the top off to help make sure Genti doesn't face 8-man boxes. He's going to give you a lot of help on special teams, which is an extremely important role. Kubiak did make that deal for him, so you know for a fact that he already has that connection with them. And at 3 years, $42 million, $14 million per year, that's a really, really good value for a player like Rashid Shaheed, because you're getting a receiver, you're getting a special teams player, and you're getting somebody that's instantly going to help your ground game, because teams, no matter what, will have to respect that speed. And the 2024 to 2022 numbers from the average is what I would look at for Rashid. I know last season on Seattle, only 11.6, but he's got speed, and he's going to help make this ground game much, much better. Let's go to number 1 on my list, and actually, I think he's truly the only number 1 receiver that I'm even talking about on this video. I know the Raiders are looking for a number 1. Alec Pierce, to me, is kind of in the same number 1 category as I would say Jacoby Myers. Some teams aren't going to view him as a number 1. Some teams will view him as a number 1. For Las Vegas Raiders fans out there, you should look at Alec Pierce as a number 1 because he can stretch the field. He's a hell of a blocker. He's got reliable hands. And when I turn on the tape and I watch Pierce, It reminds me so much, and I mean so much, of Charlie Becker, who Mendoza relied on a ton at Indiana. And in fact, I spoke with Omar Cooper Jr. at the NFL Combine, and him and I were kind of chopping it up about Elijah Surratt. We were talking about him, but we also talked about Becker, and then instantly we started talking about Alec Pierce. And Omar Cooper Jr., somebody who just played and won a national championship with Fernando Mendoza, told me that he thought Alec Pierce would be a really good fit with Mendoza. Sign me the F up, because he wants to run block, because he's got that elite speed, because he can catch the back shoulder balls, because he was just successful in an offense that Indy ran. I'm not saying the Indy offense is similar to Kubiak, but Indy's a run-first offense. The Raiders are going to be a run-first offense. So 4 years, $96 million, it might scare some people. I hear you loud and clear. I mean, that's $24 million per year is essentially what the Houston Texans are paying Nico Collins. It's a lot of money. But the difference maker here is, look at what Pierce provides the Raiders. He provides the Raiders a deep field stretcher, over 20 yards per catch. He provides you a good red zone option, a reliable receiver, and his strengths align with the strengths of Fernando Mendoza. And oh yeah, I keep saying it, his run blocking is why Raider fans should be willing to pay him $24 million. Because you put him at number 1, Trey Tucker at number 2, Jack Besh at number 3, Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. That is a bunch of guys that can block. Jack Besh is a great blocker. Trey Tucker is pound for pound one of the strongest players on the Raiders. That's how a good offense gets it going if you want to run the Clint Kubiak offense. So here are my top 10 Las Vegas Raiders wide receiver targets in NFL free agency. Alec Pierce, Rashid Shaheed, and Romeo Doubs are my clear top 3. Should also mention that Stefon Diggs deserves to be in this show. If you made it this far, you're a real one. Take a screenshot, tag me on IG, tag me on Twitter at MitchellRenz365.